Not only getting all the parts, getting a decent set of keycaps too. You know, that adds to it, but the real kicker here is getting that nice PCB inside this. So it's an interesting board actually. So this is the DAO. This is going to be an EC board that comes in and around $300 brand new. And I'm going to show you guys, and you're probably wondering, why is it $300? It's because it's a full kit. We're going to do a teardown today and actually mod this, but it is a legit full kit. Like, you can just buy this and not mod it, which could be an option. But they're using PBT caps. I believe they're the same caps you can get from Yuzu. It's an aluminum case. It's a true HHKB, which is, in my humble opinion, a little rare. I'd say it has a nice little theme to it. And it's an EC build. The nice thing about this is, I believe, we're going to open it up and then confirm, I believe this is a Sipulot PCB as well. So the parts inside this are actually pretty nice. It does use the EC Pro X PCB, which you can also buy, which is a pretty expensive PCB. It's very nice. Like, it is a very nice overall package. It's using 45 gram FK ohms. It's using silencing rings. The stabs come pre-lubed, but I feel like they're just okay. Like, I feel like I can tune them maybe a little bit better. So we'll see. And then cherry profile PBT die sub keycaps too, which is pretty nice. I do want to tear this down and redo a bunch of things on this, just because, again, I want to see how it's going to sound when I actually lube it. You can tell it needs a little bit of work, but I think that's going to be the joy of doing something like this. The keycaps are pretty nice. The main thing I was concerned about, the keycaps, because I've never actually seen, I don't think I've seen anything from like Yuzu or anything like that at all in person, and they're pretty sharp. For die sub, they're pretty darn sharp, dude. The side profile of the board is pretty simple. It does have like a brass seam around it. All the seam enjoyers will probably really like this. It's a very nice looking board. It does have some pass-through USBs, which also is f***ing awesome. We love seeing that too. I've been saying this, I don't think enough boards have these. And then the bottom is pretty simplistic. I truly think, like, not only are you getting all the parts you need for this EC board to work, it's electrocapacitive resonant. So think Toper. Not only getting all the parts, getting a decent set of keycaps too. You know, that adds to it, but the real kicker here is getting that nice PCB inside this. So we're going to take this apart here, but first we'll do like a little sound test. I'll be real though, I do think next time that they design a case, I would love, like, okay, me personally, because there's not a lot of these on the market. There's not a lot of aluminum, true HHKBs that can accept Toper. Like, there's not a lot. I would have loved to see, the side profile's cool and the top's cool. I would have liked to see a little bit more embellishments. Hell, I would probably pay a bit more of a premium if this had some more embellishments to it. You know, just some like extra design work that went into it. Obviously, this is a very personal choice and it's not going to suit everyone's needs, but I would have paid a little bit more. But overall, pretty nice shape. The seam is visible, which is cool, so you do get to see that brass piece. And then here is the stock sound. No, unfortunately, they don't offer a bare bones kit. Can tell we need to mod this a little bit, so that's why we're gonna do the teardown today and get this thing all. Like the enter key, the stabs sound pretty decent. The shift key needs a little bit of work. And the space is okay. I do want to get this all opened up though. I'm not going to say it sounds bad because it's an EC board and I've heard way worse when it comes to EC stuff. It sounds like it was done in a decent manner. However, again, I would have actually sort of preferred this board if it came all disassembled. You know what I mean? Like not pre-done for us here. $300. It is expensive. Again, I want to state that I do also feel like this is an expensive project. However, I do really believe that getting everything all in one, plus getting a pretty darn good PCB, because that's, again, I'd say that's the major attraction here. And for those not familiar, the PCB for this is actually very nice. I believe this is, again, a Sipulot PCB. It's interesting because, like, feeling-wise, if I were to close my eyes and type on a linear switch versus an EC switch, it almost kind of feels like these are cushioned with like a mix of being tactile, but not like the standard tactile bump that you'd get with like a tactile switch from an NMX series switch. I'd say they're very unique. They're like this long, well-rounded bump. So how do the keycaps compare to stuff like GMK and CRP? Thickness-wise, they look pretty on par with most other PBT. Like, we can measure these here in a moment. Because these are die sub and it's a complete die sub, there is some small, and this is very common when you're doing like 5-sided die sub stuff. It's a little bit, what's this, concave or bent inwards because of how the die works with these keycaps. So there's a little bit of bending here. So, I mean, pretty on par. They're not aggressive though, by any means. The sharpness of this is actually pretty good though. But they're definitely not as thick as something like CRP. At least they don't feel like it. Again, we could measure this and really dive in deep. But yeah, they look pretty good. They look pretty good. All right, so I see a small problem here. And this is, yeah, that's an aggressive amount of lube. Okay, it's all over the keycap as well. There is an aggressive amount of lube on this stabilizer. Maybe that's why I'm hearing a lot of clicking. It's getting all squished and vacuumed. So note to FK caps, I would tone down the amount of lube. That's okay. We'll put this over to the side. Let's see, what do we got in here? Ooh, there's the EC Pro 2 Hub daughter board by SIP. Very nice. This is, in my humble opinion, the real reason a lot of the cost is there. These are very good PCBs. SIP makes some, I've talked to SIP personally and he is super passionate about what he does, but very, very nice PCB here. So the bottom here doesn't have any weights or anything like that. It is just a big chunk of aluminum. This is where that brass piece fits in over here. It has a little bit of weight to it. Now, is this brass or is this an aluminum piece? I'm pretty sure this is brass. Or is it just brass colored? I would suggest for them to really put some more information on the website. I'm pretty sure this is brass though. Subtle brass seam accents. Again, I think this is a brass piece. So this is rather heavy for aluminum. So I'll go on a limb and say this is brass. Do you think this would be a good starter EC board? EC stuff is a lot of fun. Like, I've only recently started dabbling in it within the last like 6 or 7 months and have been loving it. Like, I even have a few EC kits I need to put together still. I even got myself an HHKB Pro. I think, you know, already I can tell you, just because this is using a very good quality PCB, this would probably be a really fun little project. If you didn't like the case for this, like if you hate the shell for this, maybe you wait for the new stuff, like the Dynacap stuff. And then you can do something like the Bauer Light, a little bit less simplistic, you know what I mean? So maybe that's something you could look for. I think for what you're getting here, like if you don't want to source a whole bunch of different parts, this could save you a few bucks technically, because you get the whole kit. Like, and it looks pretty sharp too. Is this top mounted? Yes, this is a top mounted board. What are the 3 USBs for? The internal one, I think we've kind of chalked up to, this probably is going to be just for like something you want to hide away, maybe a dongle or something, which I'm concerned about. But these 2 are pass-through USBs, which is super handy. How many screws does this PCB have? I would say pretty standard for EC stuff. In case you guys are wondering, actually a little bit of like knowledge here, because we don't do EC stuff a lot. EC stuff needs to be clamped together. Like, it needs to be like squished. So you need to do this. You need to have all these screws here. This is pretty standard for like any EC build you'll probably find. You know what? Should we just take this off? Pink domes, very cute domes. Ooh, okay. All right. This is going to be a major piece of criticism. This is too much lube. See this? I can lube like 20 switches with this. This is a lot of lubricant. My suggestion to FK, I think the project's cool so far. 100%. Just tone down the lubricant there. We're going to wipe that down afterwards. But for now, let's just leave it there for now. Going to lube the sliders. I'm going to double check. I don't know if the sliders come lubed. I don't think they do. At least they don't feel like it. But we're just taking it apart and we're going to mod it. I also need to fix the stabs, because the other stabs actually look bone dry. Maybe they aren't lubed. But this spacebar stabilizer is very heavy on lubricant. Got the stabs. I'll put these on the side. Actually, these ones are lubed. These are lubed properly. Yeah, these are actually lubed very nicely. This space bar is not, though. Space bar is little to be desired here. So this is too much. Oof. Way too much here. We will do our best to clean this afterwards. And these are not lubed, so we will be lubing these. So let's pop these all out. Yeah, we will be lubing these. Actually, there is a little bit of lube, but it's very, very minimal. I'm not incredibly well versed in EC. I do love it. It's been fantastic for me lately. Like, it's been really making me enjoy keyboard stuff. I love Topper, such endgame, very tasty. You know, like I said too, I think, in all honesty, like, I love the fact that this comes pre-assembled. Like, I think that's really awesome in a lot of ways, but I think this should also be a really fun kit if they did this as like a DIY thing. I really, really do. I think that would be a lot of fun as well. All right. You know, the keycaps have like a slight like tinge of blue to them. Almost reminds me of like GMK Honor. Ooh, these feel... Ooh, that does sound a lot nicer. Oh, dude, these sound so much nicer now. Should we try a set of ABS? Do you guys want me to try ABS on this too? I wouldn't say they're a silencing O-ring. Not as like aggressive as some other ones, but they are a very unique typing experience. It is slightly tactile, like definitely a kind of tactile, but also not as an aggressive tactile like we usually get. I'm pretty happy with this, but I do want to try a few ABS keycaps on this. I wouldn't mind trying an ABS spacebar, for example. You know, I don't think there's that big of a difference. I do want to just touch up the stabilizer a slight bit. Maybe I removed too much lubricant here. I did wipe away practically all of it. Hey Alex, that sounds mushy but interesting. It's supposed to sound a bit mushy. It's like an EC build. Yeah, I actually preferred the PBT. I much preferred the PBT on this. Feels great. This is a nice feeling one here. I think, okay, what I would, if I was selling this kit, if this was me, so I'll talk about a few points right now. So the good, I think the case like looks high end. And I think that's a compliment here. The only thing I would want to see different, you know, is I would like to see maybe a bit more design going on the bottom. This is just my brain. Whenever I see something flat like this, just even with these little engravings here, I kind of associate this usually with a very like easy to machine board and should be a lot cheaper. That's kind of like what my brain associates like a flat bottom like this on keyboards. So I would like to see some extra machining on this or just something, you know. No, at the moment, Jenny, no one can, those are sold through. I don't even think I have any left. So the next thing, oh, what's the price point again? It's $300. So the next thing I really like, the PCB in this is amazing. This is an absolutely great buy, I think, because you're getting an incredible PCB with this. Pass-through, which is fantastic. You don't see a lot of these, which these are really fun to see. You get the keycaps, you get everything you need is already built for you in this case. They're relatively simple to take apart and mod and kind of fun, to be honest. I think that's a huge plus. So FK, I think they did well when it comes to this. If this had any other PCB inside of this, I would have been a lot more harsh, but because this is getting like the top PCB, you know, the best PCB you can get, I think this is a fantastic pickup for that. Something that I didn't like, the stabilizers. The fact that the stabs, and you guys saw, had that much lubricant on them was a, like, it, okay, literally had, this was some of the excess lube we pulled off. There was more because I wiped some down. This is from one stab. This is from the spacebar. I do think that is the critical point that could be improved. Like, obviously it's not a make or break thing, but for those who buy this board in its kind of stock configuration and don't want to open this up, you do need to kind of open this to kind of fix that. I don't think there's any other like super negative points I'd want to bring up here. I think everything's pretty standard fare. One little piece of preference now that I think should be mentioned. I would like to see them include just some extra pieces in the box. I don't know if that's intended to, because I don't know if this is just my version that got this. But like, for example, maybe 1 or 2 like extra switches or 1 or 2 extra springs and maybe an extra dome or, I don't know, just some like extras just in case. I feel like that goes a long way when you're buying something pre-built like this. You know what I mean? I really do feel like that goes a very, very long way. So I would like to see that as well. I think that would be an excellent addition to the board. But for a first release, I think this is incredibly solid, especially something that comes pre-done. Like, you don't really need to source any other parts. Obviously, I do like this better when we mod this. It does sound a whole hell of a lot cleaner. So if you do pick this up, it doesn't hurt to take this apart. It only takes like an hour or 2. The top-down view of the board is really pretty. Again, I just wish the bottom had some extra stuff going on. I feel like when we get to the $300 price range plus, usually I kind of want a little bit of extra oomph with my keyboard design. But like, this is a nice view. I like this. The keycaps you get are solid with this too. I'll do another sound test for you guys here as well. Love you guys. Bye everyone, and have a good night. See ya.